Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Gettysburg Great Games. We are here to talk about Bullets baseball, and today specifically, we'll be talking about a game from the 2007 season. A lot was online for the game playoffs. It was the last hurrah for the senior class, obviously, of 2007, and we have two members of that senior class joining us today, in Mark Campo and Ben Carey. Guys, thanks a lot for joining me. I'm really excited to talk about Bullets baseball and specifically this game, which kind of popped on my radar just the other day talking to Coach Campo, and he pointed this game out and just the crazy circumstances that kind of went down in this game. And we're going to get to that. But first, I just wanted you guys to have a chance to tell the people at home what you've been up to over the course of the last, God, I hate saying it, 14 years. You guys graduated before even I got here, which I haven't interviewed any alums that have been able to say that yet. So congrats. So Mark, if you want to just give a quick update, obviously you're the coach's son coming in here.
Yeah. So currently I live a little bit outside of Philadelphia in King of Prussia. I've been here for about 8 years now. I work at a commercial bank out here. A little bit before I got into banking, I thought I would follow in Dad's footsteps and become a college coach. So I coached baseball and football for a year at Juniata College, football for a couple of years at Dickinson College. And then, the career went in a different path, moved into more business field and moved out to the Philly area. I live here with my wife, Samantha. She's actually the softball coach at Ursinus College, former coach at Gettysburg College. And we have two kids. Mia is 5 and Mitch is 2. And like you mentioned earlier, we have a dog named Shay, who's named after Chipper Jones's favorite kid. Not the Mets stadium, right? Yeah. So that's my story since 14 years ago, which is crazy. So I guess kids on the team now were like 4 years old when we were seniors. So.
Yeah, this is very true. This is the realization I live with every day when I see college freshmen coming in, a new batch every year, and I get that much further out and I'm now old enough to be their father potentially. It's scary and depressing. And of course, your dad has been here 35 years already, which is an incredible number. And of course, your mom was a longtime director of human resources, and I believe she just retired, right, in December?
Yeah. December 31st was her final day. So she's living it up in retirement in Arntsville. It's a hot town there. So I think the highlight of her retirement right now is visiting grandkids and getting to see them. So.
Oh, I'm sure she's eating up every minute of that, and I can't wait to see her back behind the backstop when we get back to baseball games out of Kirchhoff Field too. So she is a staple out there behind home plate, keeping the umpires, on point every single game. Yeah. So, Ben, obviously, we'll turn it to you too. You were originally from Colchester, Connecticut. Where are you at? What have you been up to since leaving Gettysburg?
So I did the coaching thing for a little bit as well. Right when I got out of school, I went back to my high school and coached JV there, and it wasn't as easy or natural as I thought it was going to be. But then sort of life brought me down to Dallas, Texas, a couple years after that. So I've been down in Dallas. There were just more opportunities down here. I've been down here for like 12 years. I have a fake Southern accent sometimes, depending on who I'm talking to. I say y'all now sometimes. But yeah, just working in insurance. I do claims adjusting. I traveled for a long time looking at hail damage and going on roofs and whatnot. But now I'm basically Texas only, just going around doing that. But no kids or anything, just two big dogs, about 200 pounds worth of dogs sitting behind me right here. So Newman and Dorothy are my two large children. So yeah, living the dream, I guess.
They're slightly bigger than Mark's dog. That is for sure.
Bigger than Mark's family probably altogether. It's
Yeah.
Well, I'm definitely excited to have you both on here. Of course, Mark, you were a 3-year starter in the outfield for the Bullets baseball team. Ben, you were a 4-year starter, I believe, all 4 years at third base. Is that right? The hot corner?
I was kind of all over the place. I was like the Brock Holt for a while. I played center field my freshman year. I think shortstop my sophomore year, and then just a little bit all over. I don't know. Always kind of started, but just wherever coach needed me for the most part. So, but third base, steady at third base my entire senior year. Yeah.
And that's looking at the box score from this game. I know you started at third base. Mark, you started in left field for this game, which took place on a Sunday, April 22nd in 2007, just setting the stage for you all at home. We were scheduled to play a doubleheader against Haverford, and a lot was on the line. Centennial Conference playoffs. We went in 2005. We just missed it in 06. And Gettysburg was coming in, started out the season 16-3. Got swept by Hopkins, lost a couple other games here and there. Still sitting in a respectable 10-4 in conference play, but Haverford's sitting in the rearview mirror at 8-6. Haverford sweeps us in this. They're tied. They got the tiebreaker with only one more conference series to go at that point as well on the slate. So a lot was riding in this game. Of course, the opening game, we lost 4-3, unfortunately. Haverford scored an unearned run in the top of the ninth in that opening game. Mark, do you remember what happened in that game and kind of how you guys came off the field? Like, what were you chatting about coming off that first game, that first loss?
Yeah, I remember it being a tough loss. This was a long weekend for us, a 5-game weekend. We played, I believe, F&M at home on Friday, and then we travel out to Swarthmore Saturday for a doubleheader. And, of course, after we beat F&M at home on Friday, we all go to bed real early. We're well rested for our doubleheader at Swarthmore. No, I'm kidding. We're out till probably 3 a.m. Celebrating. Get on the bus at 8. Go out to Swarthmore for the doubleheader. We beat them both games, so it's a great start to the weekend. And Haverford's always been a good team, so it's a tight game. I remember Mike Ciancio pitched really well. I think he went complete game, even in extras, and just a tough loss. So, it was frustrating, but, we knew we had to bounce back. Anytime you lose an extra inning game, it's in between doubleheaders, there is kind of a bitter feeling, and you gotta pick it back up for game 2. So.
Yeah, you bring up a great point too. That was extra innings because those weekend doubleheaders were 7-inning doubleheaders. I was thinking in my head it was 9 innings. That was in the 8th when Haverford picked up that run. So we're going to this game 2. Ben, do you remember any words of encouragement from the coaching staff heading into this second game? Because obviously Coach Campo, Coach Bayshaw, they knew what was on the line.
Not specifically. Like Mark was saying, it was more. This was such a grind towards the end of this season. I'm assuming, I don't really recall if this doubleheader got rained out or something earlier in the season, because I don't think we would have played a Saturday. Mark, did we ever do that Saturday, Sunday? It must have been like a reschedule.
Yeah. I think it got moved from an earlier weekend. Yeah. Because
the Swarthmore games the day before kind of went easy, but I don't think we played great. Like it was just we're coming off those F&M games, and that was that was like the famous Saturday morning where we had one guy show up 8 hours early for the bus and one guy catch the bus running after it on the way in. So like that Saturday was crazy, and then going into Sunday, you're just ready for more of a grind. And every time it seemed like we had one of those 7-9 doubleheaders, we would go into extra innings in the first game. So that 7-9, which is supposed to make it more convenient and easier. The day before at Swarthmore, I think we went into extra innings too in that first game. So we're in 8 innings the game there. And then, so we just had a way of giving people, the most for their money. But so going into that second game, it was more just, I think we had good leadership with our seniors. We had Vanya and Chase were our captains, but really all our seniors were pretty egoless and stuff. I think everyone just kind of knew what we had to do, but then we thought we knew what we had to do. But I'm sure you're going to lead into this, because any words of encouragement went directly out the window if you look at the play-by-play from the first inning, the first half an inning there. Yeah.
That's a great segue. So as Coach Campo said the other day when we were talking, we quickly found ourselves down 9-0 after 3 innings. Haverford came out, punched us with 6 runs in the first, and then added 3 more in the second and third. And then this is the great part of the story is that Matt Stilitano, our starting first baseman, gets hurt on a play of first base, I think Coach was saying, and separates his shoulder, a big game disruption. So you're sitting there 9-0 without your starting first baseman who's had a great season. You know, Mark, I got to ask you, what was going on in the dugout? What could you guys have possibly been talking about?
So just a little correction. He didn't get hurt at first base. He got hurt at second base because at the bottom of the third or fourth inning, it's 9-0. He leads off with a single, and then I come up and proceed to hit right into a double play. And so I'm trying to beat the throw to first. And so I'm out. He's out. I turn around and go jogging back to the dugout, and I look to my right, and he's laying on the ground screaming his head off because his shoulder had just popped out and wasn't going back in. So yeah, 9-0 leadoff. Finally get a guy on base, and I hit into a double play, and he's out, for the season. I think they pulled an ambulance on the field to get him off. So it was quite the scene at that point. So yeah, it was like, like you said, we had a great season at that point. And then this, by dropping game 1, this becomes a critical game because if we lose it, all of a sudden we're behind them in the standings. And before you know it, it's 9-0. And I feel like we were kind of just looking around like, what's going on? But fortunately, like we said, so it's the second game of a Sunday doubleheader. So 5 games in 3 days, start doing the math on how many pitchers you have left and how many pitchers the other team has left. So fortunately for us, we were in a position where we're facing some of their back end guys on the staff, and we could probably hit our way back into the game, which, we ended up, I think, doing the next inning. We put some runs up and got back in the game.
So, Ben, were you anywhere near the conversation that took place on who was going to replace Stilitano at first base? And what did you guys think about when you heard that Kenny Stone was selected for this honor?
And it's I'm happy that Mark mentioned that the ambulance pulled on the field, because I thought that was just something like a drunk memory or something made up, because it was so weirdly surreal, the whole thing. And I think somebody said in the interview yesterday, like it was 17 minutes or something. And maybe it says that in the recap of the game. It felt like an eternity. So like they're sitting there figuring him out. There's, a medical team on the field. And we're trying to first of all, Stilly's like all of our best friends. Like he's one of our good friends. So you're really worried about Stilly. And then it was, I think it was kind of, it wasn't, I don't think Coach Campo gave Kenny Stone enough credit when he described his role on the team yesterday, because he didn't take batting practice and stuff, but he was kind of a known commodity. He owned a first baseman's mitt. It wasn't like he was, some guy keeping score on the end of the, actually he might have been foul ball captain or something that day. I don't know, but he like hit in the fall, and he would always hit a home run or 2 in the fall. Like he had good pop. He played high school baseball in Orlando. So I don't know. I want to give him a shout out, I guess, to make sure that he gets enough credit for being this guy. But yeah, I think it was kind of known, because otherwise, if you lose Barney as the DH, you're screwing up your lineup. And again, on this late time in the weekend, you don't want to give up spots. You leave yourself versatile. And there is still, even though it's 9-0, we gotta really play to win. It wasn't a foregone conclusion at this point. And I think that the Stilitano injury may have played like a kind of like a hockey fight or something, where it broke some kind of momentum. And so Mark did a great thing by hitting into a double play and injuring our starting first baseman, really.
It was all part of the plan.
Yeah, we practiced that. That's actually one of the things we spend time talking about in meetings in preseason. Those long meetings in the field house, it's a play we came up with.
when is the most opportune time to hit into a double play.
The silly on the stretcher game.
Yeah.
Well, the plan did start to take shape in the very next inning. You guys had a rally, walked the bases. Bonnier and Donahue walked, Chase singles, bases loaded for the one and only Ben Carey, who drives in the first run of the game. And then up next is the man of the hour, Kenny Stone. And then he singles the drive and a run too. And then Mark, you followed up with the single too. So did you guys feel like at that point, like, all right, this is turning around, and with Stone coming in off the bench, like, this is the momentum we need. It just kind of turned the table right there in that inning.
Yeah, I think we had a pretty experienced team that year, and we all know how to take approaches in the at bats and whatnot, and so it was just one at bat at a time. And it's a long game. We're playing with metal bats, and like I said, we're facing probably the back end of their staff. So we know if we could just grind out at bats, keep getting guys on base, we could get ourselves back in the game. So, I think it was just a little momentum, one after another, and just kept the line running. So that's what it was at that point. I don't know. I think we put maybe 6 or 7 that inning to get back immediately back in the game.
7.
So 7, yeah. So in one inning, we're back in the game. So
yeah. I think if we score 2 or something there, we probably still feel like we're out of it. It's just some blip, but you keep it rolling like that, and all of a sudden, now you're at that point where, okay, this is going to be one of those games. We had one the year before, at least one the year before, that one against Dickinson, where it was like 16, 15 or something. So you just kind of, I don't know, you get used to all types, especially when you have, these guys that were good pitchers, are young guys, but we hadn't seen much of them. So you're just there for the grind, and at this point it's just whoever's going to score 20. So I don't know.
Well, and of course, the next inning, we have to give a shout out to Haverford too, because they weren't done. They dropped another 5 on us.
Certainly not.
You guys still feel that you had that momentum down even 14-7 at that point, Ben?
I just think we knew, we were part of it. You're in that second game of a Saturday doubleheader, and you kind of have to win this game. You're just you might as well at this point. You might as well keep going. The weekend's going to be. I think we actually had a game the next day or something too against Catholic, or 2 days later. So, but you're just in that grind, and you're like, at this point, if we lose, what the heck? So, yeah, I mean, it takes a lot of luck too, but we certainly got those little lucky moments too. But yeah, I don't think we were ever, no one on that, none of the seniors, none of the younger guys, there were no egos or anything. Nobody had checked out. I think we all just figured why not. So we just kept going.
Yeah, and it kept going. It did. You got a Bacchus bomb in the 6th inning that was a 2-run homers to add 3 more runs, so cutting into that deficit at 14-10, I think, at that point. And then in the 7th inning, Mark, you lead off with the double to kind of start it off again, and then we put up 6 to finally get out in front, and then close with 2 more runs, courtesy of the one and only Chase Straub in the 8th inning as well. So we went ahead at that point, holding that lead in those last couple of innings. Did you guys feel pretty secure? We had Ryan Dwyer on the mound for the last 2 innings as well. So, but Haverford was still hanging around. They put 2 runners on in the bottom or top of the 9th as well. So, Mark, did you feel like once we got the lead, all right, we got this?
Yeah, I remember, I think we were up 1 in the bottom of the 8th. Is that right? And you're figuring, a game like that, you don't feel great with a 1-run lead at any point. You probably don't feel good with a 5-run lead. So I think Chase's double might have come with 2 outs to score 2 runs. I mean, I remember that being huge because, we don't want to go into the top of the inning with a 1-run lead in a game like that. So when he came up with that hit, we got 2 more runs on the board. I think at that point, we're up 3. We were feeling pretty good. And, talk about a team win, I don't know how many innings Ryan Dwyer threw that year. It can't be that many. But, I mean, to shut them down in the top of the ninth, that's as big an inning as we had all year. So you're talking about a guy who didn't throw a lot of innings, but probably threw one of the biggest ones of the season. So.
Yeah, at that point, I mean, he only had 8 innings on the year, and he came down and threw 2 scoreless to get the save. Zaleski got the win. He went ahead in the 8th, and then Dwyer ended up getting the save out of it.
2 scoreless is probably one of the better lineups. I think us, Haverford, and Hopkins were probably the best teams, like, all around that year. And I mean, especially Haverford offensively, with what's his name, Binder or whatever. They had a good lineup. So, like, we had a lot of good, like, I don't know, all of our pitchers that whole season kind of, I don't want to use overachieve in a way to make it sound like to diminish their abilities, but they were all hard workers. They all were in it, and I think they all were pretty loose with that team. We didn't have just, a clear – I think Legal was pitcher of the year in the conference, but we didn't have, like, a clear, like, straight-up stud or anything. Legal worked guys. Legal was a good mentor for those guys, and same with Ciancio. They just knew how to pitch. And so the young guys came in, and Zaleski came in this game, I think, and Zaleski in the game against Hopkins at the end of the season, Zaleski came in and kind of did a job too, I kind of recall. But, Dwyer, it was one of those names that came up that I had to kind of remind myself of when I saw it in the box score. And, I just remember him coming in and doing a good job. But it was a weird game.
Yeah. I mean, it was, you guys had the lineup, of course, with you two. I mean, Vladica, we haven't even mentioned him. He hit 386 that year. Chase hit 385. He got Backus, he was still here when I got here and was hitting bombs to center field every game. And Joe Banye, who I don't even know how many records Joe ended up with when he finally left here. But looking at the pitching staff and the numbers that are out there for the pitchers, I mean, you've got 6 guys that had ERAs under 4.0, and anybody in the Centennial now would want that. I mean, that is really good.
And Legal, they gave us innings too. It wasn't, even if we were in a game like this. Well, this is probably not the best example, because I think if you look at the pitching line, it was just a struggle. But they give you 7 innings and give up. Sometimes it would be 13 hits, but they'd give up 2 runs or something. Or like there'd be. I think somebody had a good game against F&M where it was like a 2-hitter. But it's always a lot of innings. They were always willing to stay in there if it kind of got rough. I tried to keep them loose going up from third base and sort of give my 2 cents. But it was a good, solid all-around team with like I said, not a lot of egos, because we didn't have clear stars or anything. We just had a lot of guys that knew how to play.
The pitching line from that game, I mean, we won't read that to respect those guys because they did have a great season. Like you said, it's not indicative of what they did all year long. But, looking at some of the performances in the lineup itself, I mean, you've got Stone. He finished 3 for 4 with a run and 3 RBI. You got Chase with 4 hits and 3 RBI and 2 runs. Mark, you had 2 hits, 2 runs, and an RBI. Ben, you had 3 hits and a run and an RBI. Everybody produced. We had 19 hits in total, so the bats were hot that day for sure. And we get into the playoffs too. We win 26 games, tied with the 0-1 team for the most since 1988, when the team set the record at that time at 28 games. And, we beat F&M in the first round too. Unfortunately, we lost to Hopkins in extra innings to get out, but it was a really good season. I think, we're talking to Coach Campo the other day. He was just really proud of the way in that moment too, you guys kind of came together, because we started the season so hot, had a little bit of a downturn. This happens in long baseball seasons, but then this game, you guys just all brought it together. So how do you guys feel? You guys were seniors, you guys were the leaders. We talked about that just in general, like about that season, the way you guys closed your college careers. Obviously, you want more. You wanted the conference title. You get it, but you guys still feel pretty good about the way everything ended that year.
Want to go, Mark?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, always disappointed it didn't end in a championship because I feel like we could have won the conference tournament. We were right there. But I think, looking back on it, our sophomore year, we had a pretty good team. And we lost in the playoffs to Haverford that year under the old playoff format. And we returned basically the whole team almost our junior year. I think, going back on it, we thought our junior year, we were going to be the best team in the league. And it just never happened. And we ended up losing basically our whole pitching staff from that season. And, some very good arms between seniors, guys leaving school, some guys not coming back out. So going into our senior year, like we've talked about it, we Mike Ciancio, I think, was our most experienced pitcher. I don't know how many innings he had thrown to that point, but it couldn't have been that many. So I just remember that we go down, we open up at Mary Washington, who's always very good team. I don't think we played them every year and hadn't beaten them yet. And we go down there that opening weekend and we throw Mike Ciancio and Chris Legal and we pound them. And those two totally shut them down. And I think my dad told me this. That was the first time that Mary Washington had ever been swept on their home field. And we did it with those. And then we won 2 the next day against St. Mary's. We were 4-0. I think we won our first 3 or 4 games in Florida. So, we just got on a roll to start. Like you said, played around 500 ball in the middle of the season, conference play, lost some tough games. But then, I think, our experience and our talent really helped push us through games like this game we're talking about today. And then I think we ended up clinching the next weekend officially clinching. We were, essentially clinched after we beat Haverford, but officially clinching against Ursinus. So, no, I mean, there's not too many days that don't go by that I don't think about my senior season. I miss it all the time. Usually good thoughts. Sometimes I get frustrated about losing that extra inning game to Hopkins in the playoffs. But, overall, there's nothing I wouldn't do to go back and do that again. And it was one of the best times of my life. So.
Yeah, it was wild that year because I think we thought I don't think we knew how much we had sort of come together as a team until we got into it a little bit. And like I was saying, it wasn't a team where if you made an error or something, you weren't worried about going back to the dugout and somebody being angry at you. Everybody knew what we had to do. And I think that was kind of where that came from our seniors, but also us playing together and just knowing each other off the field. We had a pretty diverse group of players. Like Gettysburg, you can get kind of niche, or at least in 2007. I don't know. I haven't been back much. I don't know the landscape anymore. That'd probably be an old man if I went back now. It's kind of wild, but
you're younger than me, Ben, so you're not an old man yet because I'm not an old man.
You definitely look great. But with I don't know, we had guys from 5 different fraternities and everything, and then so it was kind of like you're kind of welcome all over campus. You kind of had guys from all over, but none of the guys were jerks. And especially, I think we kept the pitching staff. They kept us loose and they grinded like crazy. And those guys, I feel like we do kind of diminish their abilities by saying by talking about them like they completely overachieved. They're especially Ciancio and Legal were so good for us that year that at times basically carried us because we go on a good roll at the beginning, but I don't know if we really completely found our footing. We didn't know our identity or anything until we figured out we're just going to be a team that can beat anybody on any given day. That last game against Hopkins, we could do probably a 3-hour long session about that even, but it was kind of a weirdly fitting way for our careers to end because Hopkins was that one team that just drove us nuts. We had leads against them every year. We beat them once, I think, in our 4 years. And they're such, I don't know. I don't want to get into this for Hopkins, but yeah, it was a fun team. I mean, down through, all guys like Freeburger, where it's just a guy who he doesn't get a ton of time, but he's great in the dugout, like, and can jump on the field and play for anybody and play any position and do anything you need. Like we had such depth and everything that we never felt like, there wasn't anything that could that get us out of a game, and we could play basically anybody and have a shot. So it was fun.
Yeah, it's been a really fun game to go back and look at. One, it's kind of rediscovery for me because I came in after this, obviously, seeing a lot of Bullets baseball since then, that's for sure. As we enter the 2021 campaign, obviously we don't have a schedule out there yet. That is a whole story in and of itself that, like, the Hopkins game would take 3 hours or more to go over. But for you guys coming through the program, spending 4 years, going out into the world, being former coaches yourselves out there beyond the borders of Gettysburg, what's your quick sell to someone that is considering coming to Gettysburg College to play baseball? Mark? Careful here. Your dad's
yeah, I know. That's right. Just speaking from my experience, my experience is obviously, a lifelong being around Gettysburg College baseball. But I just think you won't find a better place with better people. And, if you're looking for really competitive baseball, I think it kind of goes underrated how competitive Division III and the Centennial Conference baseball is. Just look how many players have been drafted out of the Centennial Conference. You think it's just a little Division III baseball? No, they're professional baseball players coming out of this league. You can't really say that about too many other sports. I don't know if anybody Centennial's ever been drafted to the NBA or the NFL, but it happens in baseball all the time. And it's highly competitive, but it's also just a great school from a academic standpoint, a social standpoint. I still have the best friends I'll ever have in this world. I met at Gettysburg. Ben's one of them, and it really made me who I am today. My experience there, and I wouldn't change it for anything. And the only thing I regret is not scoring one more run against Hopkins in that conference playoff game. It's my only regret. So
we had our chances. We definitely had our chances.
How about you?
Yeah, I would say, as far as if you're going to play baseball, if you're a really rock solid player, you're going to get an opportunity, and it's not. I think people, like Mark saying, they look at D3 or they look at certain conferences, don't get enough respect, I feel like, and day in and day out on that schedule in conference, you're going to play teams that are pretty solid, that are going to have guys that were all conference in high school or all state in high school. And then if you're not, an all state player, but you're a good ball player, good all around and everything, you're going to get opportunities too. You're going to maybe sophomore, junior year, but you're going to get on the field and you're just going to have to prove yourself. And that's probably a better experience as for forming, a future life than just coming in and being a stud or something. So it pretty much, the baseball program has probably what you need. And then campus and everything is just a solid experience all around. Everybody's great. And just go to class.
That is a great lesson, Ben Carey. We should definitely tell everyone to go to class, either virtually or in person. It's kind of all over the place right now in Gettysburg. So, gentlemen, that's all the questions I had for you guys today. I appreciate you guys taking the time to talk about this game from 2007. I think it's very indicative of what Bullets baseball is all about, that team mentality and, winning as a team, doing everything you can to get that positive outcome in the end. It's definitely a message that we all need right now with everything that we're dealing with in society. And, hopefully we've got some more Bullets baseball coming up in a few short weeks. We're keeping our fingers crossed. So again, I want to say thank you for joining me today. For Ben Carey, Mark Campo, my name is Corey Jewett, signing off for this edition of Gettysburg Great Games.